Joel Embiid is my favorite player. He is the reason that I became a Sixers fan, that I became an NBA fan even. I love watching this dude play. He's an absolute beast. And in my opinion, with a few small improvements, with one large one and several small ones, Joel Embiid could be viewed as the best player in the entire NBA. And as a Sixers fan, I obviously hope that he will be. So let me start talking about him, alright? Joel Embiid, if you haven't heard of him, is an absolute freaking monster. He is the best post player since Shaquille O'Neal. He is the best center since Shaquille O'Neal, although Nikola Jokic certainly has a good case as well. I like the fact that Joel Embiid is a phenomenal defender instead of only being amazing on offense like Nikola Jokic is. This dude almost won Defensive Player of the Year a few years ago. He's fallen off a tiny bit since then, but he is still a consistent all-defense second-team member. Meanwhile, on offense, last season Joel Embiid just had the best season of his entire career, putting up 29, 11, and 3 along with a steal and a block on 51, 38, 86% shooting. Those are freaking incredible numbers. Those are the numbers of the best player in the NBA. Or they could be. They're very, very close at the very least. Now, the big thing we got to get out of the way first with Joel Embiid, I know you're all thinking it, some of you have probably already said it, is his health. This man has never had a truly healthy season. His most games played in a season were 64 in 2019, followed very closely by 63 in 2018. The past two seasons, which, to be fair, were only 72 games, he only played 51 games in each of those seasons. So he is missing, on average, about 20 games a season for the last 4 years. He's missing very close to 20 games a season, and that's just not going to cut it. Alright, players can rest games. I don't know if this man's ever going to have an 82-game season. I don't know if he's ever going to play more than even half of the back-to-backs in a season. But if Joel Embiid can miss 10 games or less, okay? Dude, that would be it. He would, first of all, he would have won the MVP last season. Straight up. Okay, I don't think... I see this weird narrative. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here for a second. I see this narrative that, Joel Embiid wasn't really leading the MVP race before he got hurt. Oh, no, he wasn't going to win, even if he was healthy. He wasn't going to win. Are you people, was nobody paying attention in, fucking January? Joel Embiid was the lead MVP dude by a very wide margin before he got hurt. Then as soon as he got hurt, it was oh, okay, Jokic is going to win. But before that, it was Joel Embiid a clear head above literally anyone else. It was not a super close MVP race. Just throwing it out there. Alright, just throwing it out there. Joel Embiid needs to be healthy. Alright? The man has had leg issues. He's had back issues. Once in a while, he has an issue where his face gets broken by his own teammate. This man's injury prone. Alright, he is. He is an injury-prone player. If he can just have 1 year where he is 90% healthy for the whole season, or should I say he's healthy for 90% of the season, I really think that might be all it takes, because people just take away points for missing games, and I think that's unfair when ranking players, but I also do agree with the statement that the best ability is availability. It's a common saying, and it's completely fair. Look, if you have Jokic over Embiid, and your only reasoning is that he plays more games, I think that's a little unfair if you're saying who's a more talented, more skilled player, but if you're talking about who you would rather have on your team to be the best player in the league to lead your team, yeah, it's a fair reason. Joel Embiid needs to stay healthy, and I really freaking hope we finally get a healthy season from this man. I would love to see him get a healthy season, and I really believe if he does play 70 games or more this season, he could very well win the MVP. My current pick is Steph Curry, but I think Joel Embiid's going to be up there, just like he was last year, just like he was in 2019. I could very easily see him win it. But moving on from health, I focused on it longer than I meant to. Let's talk about actual aspects of his game that he needs to improve. First of all, his shot-making ability needs to be more consistent, alright? And what I'm saying is, looking at his field goal percentage, this season Joel Embiid was freakishly efficient. One of the most efficient seasons in NBA history, considering how much he scored. However, In most of his previous seasons, this was the first time he has ever shot over 50% from the field. This is the most efficient three-point season of his career and the most efficient free throw percentage season of his career. And all of those were by significant amounts. So the first thing we need to see, because everyone sits there and says last year was just a fluke, you see it all the time with players. You see it, I've even said it with Julius Randle. I'm not going to lie, although Julius Randle's numbers were significantly greater than his year before compared to Joel Embiid's jump, but the point still stands. He needs to do this for another season because a lot of people are going to say it was fluky. He's not really a 38% three-point shooter. He's not really an 86% free throw shooter. They think he's really more like 35 and 80%. So he needs to keep that up for another season. Needs to keep up those mid-ranges that he was hitting 90% of the year. Then he got hurt. He came back, and his timing was clearly just a little bit off with them. He was a little bit rusty. He wasn't quite making those shots like he used to. If he can get back to the start of the season, because at the start of the season, Joel Embiid was having, he was shooting something like 53, 40, and 88. He fell off after he got back from injury, and it took his percentages down. They were even more impressive before. So if he can play at the exact same level that his stats are for last year, or even a little bit better like he was pre-injury, that would be huge, because efficiency is everything to the stat heads these days, and it's important to me too. So if Joel Embiid can have another frickin' 29 point per game season on even better efficiency than he just had, that would be phenomenal. The other big thing with Joel Embiid, well, there's two smaller things. First of all, they're kind of connected. One is his playmaking, or I'll just say his playmaking and decision making. Joel Embiid is not a good passer. Straight up, he's just not. He averages 3.1 assists and 3.4 turnovers for his career. Last season was the best of his career, in my opinion, as far as passing goes. He averaged, I believe, it was 2.8 assists and 3.1 turnovers, which might be the smallest margin of his career. No, it's not. Well, the point is, alright, I do think he became a better passer last season. And he has very slowly improved on it throughout his career, but to say that Joel Embiid is even a neutral when it comes to playmaking would be a severe overstatement. This dude is not a good playmaker. He doesn't have a natural court vision, he's not a natural facilitator, and that's okay. Some players are just like that. Hakeem Olajuwon was very similar. In fact, I would say Hakeem Olajuwon was worse for most of his career than Joel Embiid is right now when it comes to being a passer. But if you want to be seen as the best player in the league, you need to be a little bit better than that. You need to preferably average more assists than turnovers, first of all. And second of all, he just needs to get some more open reads. He needs to read when his teammates are wide open and pass to them, because this man gets double-teamed all the freaking time. And even though he may be the best player in the league when it comes to just barreling through two defenders in the post, in fact, I don't say, it's not a debate. He very clearly is the best player in the league at that. He still needs to get better at passing out of double teams. And another thing is just his general decision making. This is connected to the passing, but I think that's one part decision making and one part him just not being a natural passer. His decision making in general, though, is not the greatest. He tends to play some hero ball. He tends to try to dribble around some guys and lose his handle and get the ball swiped from him. That's another portion of his turnovers. He just doesn't have the world's greatest decision making in the moment. And it's made up for the fact that he is ridiculously talented. Okay, he's a great shooter. He does have solid handles for a big man, etc. But there are several times that we are in the clutch and Joel Embiid goes to take a step back three over somebody when he just hasn't been hitting them that game, or he goes to try and dribble around someone and he gets the ball swiped right out of his hand. And for each one of those instances, there's another instance where Joel Embiid pulls off some insane highlight and a game winner, and it's amazing. But the point still stands. He needs to become more consistent with that kind of thing. He either needs to work on his handles a little bit more, which is another very minor part of this, but considering he's a post player, I don't think that's a big deal for him. He just generally needs to get some better decision making. Sometimes he gets doubled late games or late in the shot clock, and he needs to look for his teammate. Sometimes he just needs to stop taking shots early in the shot clock because the team's down and he's trying to bring them back, and he just starts playing hero ball more than good basketball. Joel Embiid needs to work on his mental game just a little bit more. And I'm understanding towards it because the dude is by far the best player on his team. Ben Simmons has been playing like shit. Tobias Harris, as good as he is, as much as I love him, is not a true all-star player. Hasn't made an all-star team in his career. A lot of good role players on that team, but he does not have a second superstar. So he needs to really work on his decision-making, even though it feels like he has to do a lot, and he does have to do a lot. He still needs to improve it just a little bit if he wants to be seen as the best player in the league. If Joel Embiid can get those turnovers down a little bit more, if he can get the assists up a little bit, and if he can stop taking bad shots randomly throughout the game, and he can stay healthy, of course, this dude could be seen as the real best player in the league. And one quick caveat I want to throw out here, because this is a comment I got on the Luka video. I'm not including winning in these videos because winning games is kind of an obvious factor. Like, you have to win to be seen as the best player. But you look at Giannis, like, he jumped up in so many people's eyes when he won. But he still has, like, little things he could work on, because there's still a lot of people who don't believe that Giannis is the best player. This is assuming these players win, okay? Assuming that they get that out of the way, because that's a gimme for any player. These are the things they need to work on if they want to be seen as the very best player in the entire NBA. Anyway, thank you for watching.